Hello from Bali. This is a podcast Pigeon of Peace where we do discuss awesome skills of troubleshooters. Watch, listen, and check the description below for the details. Let's talk about underworld and let's start with the definition.
Let's start with this is a very dangerous topic and maybe we will get some angry comments under our video, but anyway, we'll go further on. And the world is a very complex object, and I will explain why. When you are a believer, when you are close to the religion, you will think that everything is quite plain. There is a God somewhere in the sky, and somewhere is a hole in the earth, or maybe on the other planet, and there are some souls which are moving across the river and something like this. But if you will think about underworld, you will find a lot of misunderstanding and some broken rules. For example, why sins or грешники sins?
Sinners.
Sinners, thank you. Why sinners should go to the hell? Why they would be boiled in смола?
Need to think about this one.
In some kind of liquid. Why they will be beaten by the черти?
Demons.
By the demons, because the owner of the underworld should love them, because sinners, they do what they asked to do by demon or by hell owner. And if you will think over, you will find a lot of very strange situation. And there is a difference between religions and science. In science, you always doubting everything what you will be told. But in religion, you just think, okay, there is underworld, and some people would be bold. It's okay.
And actually, let's try to look at it maybe even from, I would say, like pragmatic or like maybe systematic point of view, because I do believe in some of the religions the underworld also may have like a different levels, for example, like a 7 circles according to Dante, or in some of the places there's also might be some sort of like a limbo where the soul will be like a like clean before going somewhere. So maybe if you look at it from, I would say again, like pragmatic point of view, does it make sense to go like through all of the punishment, and whether it's endless? Because at a certain point of time we do realize that like when we think about eternity, like it might be asymmetrical to what the one did. So what is the, I would say, the reason of this thing to exist? Is it to scare people? Is it to teach them? Or is it just, like to show that there are always hard consequences?
Maxim, now I will tell a very dangerous thought, and maybe you will correct me, but my attempt would be like this. Before, or in previous century, we have a God. Now we have video cameras. People should afraid of something or someone do not do bad things. And for example, right now, if you are living in Singapore, you have been there for a very long time. In Dubai, you could not you couldn't commit a crime because so many cameras are installed, and you will be seen, and you couldn't be aware if there are any hidden cameras recording you right now. And this is a reason why people do not step the line. But previously, there was a time when it couldn't be done, and the God or omnipotent something would see for everyone, and it was almost like electronic garden in our охранник,
Gardener.
Gardener guard in our life. So when you start to steal, to rape, to show knife or something like this to other people, they will afraid, they will give you everything, and you will create a gang or mob, and you will play in Robin Hood. But for people who has a power, they do not like when someone trying to give to some wealth to other people, because they want that everyone would work in a hard way and will be rewarded and would spend their money for a life. But you have extra money, you could spend them to buy a power, to buy a post. Is it okay to say to buy a post? Позицию.
Position.
Position. Yes, correct. Thank you.
And somehow I do remember the words from the Anna Karenina that, like all of the families, they're happy in the same way, but they're miserable in different ways. Again, like there is another asymmetry because, for example, in religion, they said like if you go to heaven, you just will be happy, like a plain happy, nothing, that's it. But like when it comes to, like a hell or underworld, like there are thousands of ways to be miserable. Again, like maybe if we try to connect dots with the pragmaticity, with maybe even philosophy, or maybe with the, I would say, cybernetics, I would probably will afraid to say this, like why it's like so different, like why there is a white part and it's just like a plain, why there is like a, I would say, dark part and it's so different. There are so many options there as well.
Yeah, I think this could be like in criminal law. If you commit a small crime, you will be punished in a easy way. If you commit something very hard one, you will be punished for all forces. Let's see it in this way. For example, you beat someone like your child or your wife. Okay, it's like 5 point of your punishment. Then you will, for example, would kill someone. Okay, it's like 500 points. But if you will steal, for example, gunpowder from the arsenal during the wartime, it would be like 5,000. So there is something which should be divided 4 levels. Something you will make by words, something by your unarmed arm, something you will do in a gang, something you will do with some weapon, something you will do against state or against governor. So the harder you try to kick the system, the biggest answer you will get. By the way, you mentioned Dante Alighieri, and it's also a very interesting situation. You know, five centuries ago, just one man was described in detailed way how this death cycles were created. And if you are not familiar with religion and you will try to see those pictures and to read description, you will be astonished because there is so many ways to be miserable, as you said before. The main reason is some people will afraid not just words, but especially something. You know, on a lot of amount of islands there is a special word taboo, and if the governor is a good one, he will ask, Maxim, what you do not like? And for example, you will say, I do not like mussels. Морепродукты, mussels, it's okay to say?
Seafood or mussels?
Seafood. And then he will say, okay, Maxim, now you have taboo for sea mussels. And for example, if someone would give you this seafood, you will say, this is taboo for me. But if the governor is rude or has something against you, he will ask you another question, and you should be honest. What you like more in your life? And you will say, for example, I like sex, or I like honey of wild bees. And he will say, now you have taboo to have sex with your wife, or you have a taboo of wild bees. And you know, it's different situation. The same word taboo could mean something good for you or something bad. And then return to our heaven. Why in heaven there is no level? Because this is absolutism. Everything is so good that there is nothing to describe. All your hopes would be committed. I know, is it okay to say? You will meet all your needs. Fulfilled.
And when we actually think about, like underworld and humanity, obviously it might be like parts when the one side is interacting with each other. So how, I would say how to go about this one, because sometimes we might be having like a superstitious and people just, like might be doing all of the spiritism, or let's say maybe even someone who we're working with or someone who we're meeting with also might, like believe certain things. For example, in China, they said like if you would put your chopsticks right into the bowl, it's actually, this is how you offend the spirits. Or same as in the China, like when you're visiting the hotel, you actually have to knock first, because like if there is someone who kind of lives there, you just need to ask their permission. And I was observing this a couple of times. Sometimes it seems funny, but then when you think about the culture, actually it might be not, because you also need to respect it. So how to know about underworld to make sure that when you interact with the human world, you don't really cross the borders, whether it's like a cultural or spiritual.
Maxim, I was a young pioneer, then I was, I don't know how to say, young communist, комсомолец.
Young communist.
young communist. And when I was in Egypt, I was working in Ethiopia, I was working in some other countries. Sometimes I was trying to laugh from words of religious people, and they were very offended. And then I realized that I shouldn't behave in this way. But my attempts to learn on the world of Egyptian history and some other countries, it's so hard. There is even a saying in Greece, ancient history is a very big book, but without sex stories of Zeus, it would be a very small one. That's the same when you will read also, for example, books about pirates and book about of some people who were severely punished, and all of those punishment to tear apart, to use horses, to use some special tools, how to torture people. When you will look at this, you will understand how we are cruel and why it's happened. Maybe it's like to show to everyone different ways to be beaten and to understand which one would work better. For example, right now there is no death penalty. Is it okay to say death penalty?
Yes.
Смертная казнь. There is no death penalty, for example, in Russia, and some people say, okay, I would sit in prison forever and I like this, and it would be like a zero level of underworld. But some people would be given, for example, to Belarus, and they will be punished to death because of their laws, and this would be like level -1. But also there are some special spaces, for example, like Black Dolphin. This is a very severe prison in a very cold region, and if you will be there, you will be living like 1 year against 3. Is it okay to say? Как год за 3.
1 for 3.
1 for 3. You will lose your tooth, you will lose color of your skin, you will lose hair, you will lose strength, and you will become like a living deadster. It's okay to say живой мертвец.
Dead man.
Like a living dead man.
And then my last question will be how knowing about underworld would help to make this upper world a better place.
Sometimes you'll speak with elders and they will say something very strange about Kronos River or about some other stuff, especially, by the way, in Bali, by the way, in Cambodia, by the way, in Burma, and you will not understand why they use such a colorful scenes. But then you will read in some history books or maybe in a touristic guide that is just description of their underworld. And something is very funny. For example, if you will look for Hawaiian underworld, it's almost like a computer game. And it's not so severe as, for example, punishment in, for example, Christianity. But anyway, people afraid of their own underworld. So you would not afraid underworld of Cambodia, but maybe you will afraid underworld of your country where you have been given a birth.
And we review the skill of underworld and how it could be helpful for you. Stay in peace.